In this episode of My TV, I'm sharing how I help to grow my clients' businesses by making sure we enhance their strong personal branding in photography. This helps to make them a lot more memorable. I'm sharing some fundamentals about how I do this, as well as sharing some examples of real life clients with you. Let's do this. You should subscribe to my TV if you want to become a lot more memorable and make use of some of the tips, tricks, and pointers I share about memorability and personal branding photography. If you hit the bell, you're going to be notified every single Friday when a new episode comes out. If you've always wondered how you can stop people saying, "What's she all about again? Meh," or the question, "What does he even do?" to someone having a really strong and well thought out opinion about who you are and how you do it, then by the end of this episode, you're gonna know how I go about taking a dishwater diluted personal brand and changing it into a distilled and refined liqueur personal brand in my photography for my clients. And yes, that was actual dishwater. I've had my own photography business for 8 years now, and prior to that I had a career in public relations and marketing. I like to think that this hybrid approach and formula really helps me to make sure that I achieve successful results with all of my clients. Maybe you're next. Whether you like it or not, you have a personal brand. What people think of you based on your behavior, your actions, and how you show up professionally can be argued to be a very large part of your personal brand. I think that's true, but it's also a very simplistic way to look at it. Deciding on how you want to be perceived and being a lot more intentional with your actions is a great way to begin curating a personal brand. In my experience though, when somebody asks me what I stand for, what my fundamental values are, I find it quite zapping in the creative department. I find it quite intimidating. It's quite a big question to ask someone, who are you and what do you stand for? I don't know about you, but I feel like I have to go out and find a soapbox to stand on, or find a cause that blends beautifully with my business in order to have a personal brand. And I think that's counterproductive. Instead, what I like to do as a personal branding photographer is find out about my clients' lives, what they do outside of work, and who they are really as people, and then think about how that can affect the mood and the feeling that is associated with them when people think about them and their personal brand. I find that route into it just feels more organic to me. Sometimes the values approach can take away the fun, and it can take away the individuality of somebody's personal brand. Now, if you found this way of thinking to be counterproductive when you're developing your personal brand, just like how I have, you might find it more beneficial to start trying to group together the themes and the constants of your personality that you know are really you. One of my themes, for instance, is just called cocktails. And this theme can be unpacked in a lot of different ways to understand more about me, Laura Pearman. On the surface, in its most shallowest of forms, I do genuinely like to drink a lot of cocktails. But in a deeper way, the term cocktails, when I think about me, is a great way to sum up my constant exploration of ideas around duality and fusing together new ideas to create new idea cocktails. It's something that I do in all aspects of my life, and I think it's a big part of my creativity. I'm a Gemini, so I like to think that my personality is a cocktail. I also think that my style of photography has a certain sense of extraness about it. I love a complex lighting setup. Wherever I can fit one in on a photo shoot, I will do it. And I really love the extra sparkle of adding in some additional narration or even some symbols that explain a little bit subliminally who a person is when I'm doing personal branding photography. Just like a cocktail with a bit of fruit on the side and a pretty straw and a sparkler. Let's take a look at Laura. She shot with me a couple of years ago with my full Shawami service. You can see here that her before headshot is nice. She's smiling and looks friendly. Technically, it's well lit, it's in focus, and she's doing an open casual pose there. In planning with Laura, I learned a lot about her ideas and fundamentals in being passionate about helping already successful businesses and entrepreneurs find further joy and empowerment with their finances. We quickly got to the visuals around this by thinking about the end result of all of Laura's expertise. What does it feel like after you've experienced her expertise? Living a life of success on your terms and opening up your mind to a secure level of opulence. This informed the venue I sourced to give a setting to her session. We picked a stately home that was filled with historical elegance, but also it had a modern opulence in the way that it had been decorated. Laura had already completed a great project with her graphic designer, and together they had picked out a colour palette that had been inspired by semi-precious jewels. These rich colours can be seen from accents in her styled outfits and tastefully underlined in the way that her makeup was created. She says, "The biggest thing for me with my new photography was that it gave me a confident platform to leap off from. They've helped to give a personal side to my business, which can traditionally feel a bit stuffy with lots of men in suits. So I'd say that my customers find me more approachable and relatable." And if you want some more from Laura's shoot, you can go here and take a look at our post photo shoot BTS conversation. I'll also put a link to more of her results below in the show notes for you. Let's take a look at Richard. We shot together a couple of years ago with my quirky service. You can see here that Richard's before headshot is standard, especially for the world of IT. He's smiling and he's got the safe suit get up on as well. In planning with Richard, I learned a lot about his love for comics. Richard is very open and describes himself as a proud geek. Whilst you may assume that everyone in IT is a geek, there are of course lots of different ways to be a geek. So we dialed into his particular love of comics by finding some comic-centric spots to shoot in and to show Richard in a colourful alt way. Richard says, "I didn't realise just how much some high quality photos would raise my confidence. Instead of cringing when I see photos of myself online and at events, I now feel good about myself and my business." And you can go and see our post-shoot BTS chat up here if you want to go and take a look at more of his shoot. I'll also put a link to his shoot results blog below in the show notes. Let's take a look then at Natalie. We shot together last year with my bespoke service. You can see here that Natalie's before headshot shows her working from home. Now what's lovely about the way that we shot with Natalie's bespoke session in San Diego was that it didn't take anything away from Natalie's homebod vibes. Natalie loves living in the remote countryside with her family and her animals, and I like to think that that's a huge part of how Natalie shows up in business as well. Instead, what this shoot that we did together in San Diego embodied was Natalie's personal achievement in traveling to San Diego for Social Media Marketing World for the very first time. This shoot captures this, and it had a dramatic impact on her business. Natalie says, "Doing the shoot with Laura in San Diego has really strengthened my personal brand. The location was important as most of my clients are now US based. I wanted an American backdrop. Because I had so much direction on style and the way that I held myself, I feel that the pictures give a true reflection of my personality. So when people meet me, I'm the same person they imagined I'd be." If you've enjoyed these fundamentals today, as well as my client examples, won't you go ahead and give me a little thumbs up, please? Thank you very much. If you've enjoyed learning more about strengthening your personal brand with distilled visuals, then you are going to want to take a look at my 3-part special, which goes deep on why having more branded visuals in your marketing is ultimately much better for business. You can take a look at episode 1 and 2 right here. Mwah! Now before you go anywhere, don't forget to subscribe. Mwah! Mwah.